A Kuk Kamsu armed recon team discovered a small human settlement on a world marked for economic exploitation by their coordinator, which is what they call their government. The settlement had been there for a few years, at most a decade, built after the initial survey was done. As I mentioned, the Kuk Kamsu are uncompromising, and upon finding buildings where there should have been none, they immediately set about burning them down. It's possible they didn't realize the structures were made and inhabited by sentient beings. The Kuk Kamsu communicate through pheromones, not being adept at theory of mind since they can already sense the thoughts of their own species and don't need to extrapolate. This lack of understanding of other species made them miss the fact that these were human buildings, so they began torching the human settlement, though they didn't get far. Fortunately for scholars everywhere, the Kuk Kamsu AR team had helmet-mounted recording equipment, backed up by their ship's black box in real time. This, combined with human accounts, gives us a fairly reliable record of what happened. The AR leader approached the first building, ignoring the humans who were fleeing, and began torching it with his flamethrower. He quickly destroyed it. The next building was a bit larger, 2 stories instead of 1, but the Kuk Kamsu are massive creatures, 5 meters long with bodies just under 2 meters tall. They can rear up on their hind legs, becoming even taller, and they have 6 limbs, 2 of which serve as arms and legs, depending on the situation. The AR leader fired a burst of flame into the ground floor, then reared up and shot flames through the second-story window. He continued his destruction, using the laser mounted on his other arm. This avatar of destruction, along with his 19 other team members, was tearing through the human settlement, still unaware of the humans' presence. But then, the leader noticed a vehicle leaving the settlement. He shot it with a laser, disabling it, and then went over to finish it off with his flamethrower. There he found 4 humans, a male, a female, and 2 juveniles, a typical human family. What happened next is a crucial moment. The AR leader hesitated, maybe because, as a team leader, he was slightly more perceptive than most Kuk Kamsu, but only for a moment. Then he raised his flamethrower to continue the destruction. That's when he realized he no longer had his flamethrower, or even the arm it was attached to. He let out a screech, realizing he'd been injured, and backed away from the wrecked vehicle. Standing between him and the human family was another human, a fully armored one who had managed to sneak up and sever his arm without the leader noticing. This human, holding a large kinetic pistol and a sword, now stood in front of him. The Kuk Kamsu commander, shocked, brought his laser to bear and fired at the human. The human didn't dodge the blast, but instead he was fast enough to step aside in the time it took the AR commander to aim and fire. Human reaction times were so quick that the leader couldn't hit him. The AR commander kept firing, but it was futile. The last footage from the helmet cam showed a blur of movement passing beneath him, and he became the first casualty in the conflict between the Kuk Kamsu and humans. Now, who was this mysterious human with the sword? Why was he there? The surprising part is that he was there for exactly the same reason as the Kuk Kamsu AR team. He was a scout, one of 5 who had come to the planet to prepare for an invasion. Humanity is not a united polity, you see. The faction that had sent these scouts was at war with the faction that had built the colony. This is not unusual, by the way. Different human factions are often fighting among themselves. But here's the key part. While the Kuk Kamsu were armed to the teeth and prepared for dealing with dangerous animals, the human scouts only had what humans consider light weapons, and still managed to drive off the Kuk Kamsu. These scouts were equipped mostly for stealth operations, which is why they carried swords, silent and effective in cutting through almost anything. With their active camouflage armor, the human scouts were able to get so close to the Kuk Kamsu AR team that they were already taking down most of them before the Kuk Kamsu realized anything was wrong. The armor helped them move undetected, and that's how the scout had been able to sever the AR leader's arm so easily. By the time the Kuk Kamsu understood what was happening, they were outclassed. Only 3 of the original 20 AR team members managed to make it back to their ship. They probably could have bombarded the colony from orbit, but they were so traumatized and shocked, that they barely managed to operate their ship with such a small crew. They retreated home as fast as their ship could take them. Now you might be wondering why this happened. Intraspecies violence is not unheard of, especially in mating rituals, where there's often a degree of physical conflict, but it's usually more of a display than actual harm. The fact that humans regularly kill each other is shocking, but mass organized violence is something that no other species in the galaxy has experienced in the same way. Most conflicts within species are resolved diplomatically or through displays of power without resorting to real injury. But humans are different. They are a carnivorous hunter species, which is highly unusual. Most sentient species evolved from herd or flock animals, which are generally herbivores, and were once near the bottom of the food chain. The Kuk Kamsu, for example, built hives and were hunted by Mazu snakes on their homeworld. Like most other species, their ancestors faced natural predators, which shaped their evolutionary behavior. Humans, however, evolved in a way that made them constantly adapt to other sentient predators, other humans. This is what makes them particularly dangerous. For most species, instinctive reactions to threats are about fleeing or displaying power. For humans, though, it's about fighting, always fighting. Their evolution has been shaped by internal conflict, and it's made them not only physically resilient, but also incredibly fast, tough, and adaptable in combat. Humans are not the largest species, but in terms of strength-to-weight ratio, they are formidable. If that first encounter between the Kuk Kamsu and the humans had taken place without weapons, the human scouts probably would have torn the Kuk Kamsu apart with sheer strength. But what sets humans apart from other species is their intelligence and adaptability. Unlike any other sentient species, humans have evolved to outfight and outthink their opponents. Some of the most prominent figures in human culture are those who engaged in warfare, not necessarily through personal combat, but through organizational skills and strategy. The archetypes of the European knight and the Japanese samurai illustrate this. Despite what they may tell you, the answer to which culture produced the better warriors is not as important as the fact that humans, in all their cultures, have always been geared for combat. Their entire societies have been structured to produce better warriors. Imagine if humanity had first developed hawk nets and the hawks adapted to cut through them. Humanity has always been in a constant arms race with itself. From the very beginning, humans have been driven to evolve stronger and smarter, adapting to their environments and to each other. This drive has resulted in a species that can excel in combat, both physically and intellectually. Humans are not only incredibly fast and strong, but they also have the mental agility to adapt to a wide range of situations, especially in combat. Their ability to think quickly and strategically in the heat of battle is what sets them apart from other species. This combination of physical prowess and mental acuity is what makes them such a formidable force. What's even more terrifying is that humans have developed this way of thinking and acting because of constant interspecies conflict. Their greatest threats have always come from other humans, and this has shaped their society and behavior in a way that no other species can relate to. Most sentient species are not accustomed to constantly fighting their own kind. However, for humans, this has been their reality for thousands of years, and it has made them incredibly dangerous. Despite this constant state of conflict, however, humans are not just mindless killers. They have a set of moral rules that govern their behavior. There are certain things they simply do not do, such as killing civilians or juveniles. This might sound odd when considering the violence they're capable of, but it is a core part of their civilization. They have rules and codes of conduct when it comes to warfare, which distinguishes them from being mere barbarians. The human scouts were actually willing to defend the human family when the Kuk Kamsu attacked, despite being on a mission to conquer the planet. The human desire to protect their own, especially their young, is what led to the human scouts intervening in the Kuk Kamsu attack. This is a major part of why the Kuk Kamsu were so unprepared for human resistance. The humans did not simply fight for survival, they fought with a sense of purpose, driven by their instinct to protect what is theirs. Their willingness to defend their children and their people is part of what makes them so dangerous. The Kuk Kamsu did not understand this concept, and it cost them dearly. The invasion force that followed was quickly defeated by a combined human fleet. Despite the Kuk Kamsu's technological advantage, the humans' tactical superiority, the sheer number of ships, and their knowledge of warfare proved to be too much. The Kuk Kamsu realized they were facing a species unlike any they had ever encountered. They had underestimated humans and their ability to organize and fight as a united force. They had underestimated human intelligence and strategy, and in the end, they were forced to retreat. After the failed invasion, the Kuk Kamsu were left to reassess their approach. They had underestimated humans at every turn, assuming that their physical superiority and traditional battle tactics would be enough to crush this relatively new species. However, they quickly realized that humans are not just a physical threat. They are an intellectual one as well. Humans are capable of outthinking and outmaneuvering their enemies, even when they are outnumbered or outgunned. The human fleet that confronted the Kuk Kamsu was not the most technologically advanced, but it was highly effective. Humans have mastered the art of combat not only with their weapons but also with their minds. Their ability to think on their feet, adapt quickly to new challenges, and exploit their opponent's weaknesses made them a nightmare for the Kuk Kamsu. In the end, it was the humans' tactical brilliance and their willingness to fight with everything they had that led to the defeat of the Kuk Kamsu invasion force. The Kuk Kamsu, having suffered a humiliating defeat, finally realized that they were dealing with a species unlike any other. Their aggressive instincts had been no match for human ingenuity. The humans' ability to unite against a common threat, despite their internal conflicts, was something the Kuk Kamsu could not comprehend. It was a lesson they would not forget.